Welcome guys to UEFN Academy. In this video we'll create this quick inventory bar at the bottom of the screen with one ability, that's the ghost. We got also this cooldown overlay, 3, 2, 1 and we're back. So yeah, let's get started. Let's begin with creating new verse file. We'll name it persistence manager device. So now in our class, this class will be responsible for holding in the data and managing the player data. So we need something, let's remove all of this data here. And let's create some holder class. This will be agent data. We'll also have the power up enum. And we will have the custom item. Let's just fix the issues. Let's import this using statement. So now, when we got our initial classes, we will create the actual agent map, which will hold the data, and some custom items array, where we will put our custom items. Now we need some kind of onBegin method. And in this method, we will initialize the player. So whenever the player joins, we call the onPlayerJoined method. And at the beginning of the game, we want player to equip some kind of items. This is just a placeholder. In normal game, you will of course get those items through the shop and then you will equip them or in some other way. So let's get the method to add equip item. So this basically adds the item through item ID. So we loop throughout the items which we added initially to the game. So here we will set up in our device the items. Then we loop through all our items we created and we try to find the ID. And whenever we find the ID, we'll create the new item class and we will initialize the fields. Now we just need a couple of more methods. So for example, get item icon by ID. We want also to have the switch to next item. So this method will switch our currently used item. This way we can switch throughout the items and use the item wherever we pick. Let's also add the get currently used item method. This method looks into the agent map we created, we initialized, and returns the agent currently used item. So this is our persistence manager class. As I said before, its role is just to hold the information and get the information about the player and the items he's currently using or the items he has equipped. So now let's move on to actual inventory quick bar. So for this, we create another verse file and we will name it quick bar device. Okay, we are in our class now. Let's do the same as before. So remove the comments. And now we will begin from exposing our texture model. We need to do that, otherwise we won't be able to get our items. So if you want to store the items and actually reference them in the game, you want to create this module. And when you have this module, you can actually reference whatever you have here in the code itself. So if we got this trap, for example, I can now search it. And I can actually find all of my icons here in the codes, in the assets digest verse file. So whenever I would need to get this information, to get those items, I could just reference them as this texture that inventory that beer trap smaller. And actually this should be above our device. So as you see, we don't have any more error. So it depends on your implementation. We won't be using this, but this is something what's good to keep in mind. So we will be using that for getting the references, which we will be using in the UI itself. So let's do it like this. We just reference our icons. Now we want to add some more references to the code. So in this device, we will provide the input trigger device. We will provide another input trigger, which is for using the item. And this is for the switching item, input next item. We will also reference our persistence device. So we need to provide here the persistence manager device and initialize it. Now we have some errors here, so we need to add the using. And we have the cooldown data. So cooldown data is another class which we will be using. And this will be just a holder for information about the player cooldowns. Also, whenever you're working with UI, we want to have some kind of helper method to get the message. So we provide to this get text message, we provide the string, and we got back the message type. So this is something which we are using in the UI. So we cannot put the string directly in the UI. We need to provide the message. So let's begin now with our onBegin method. So as you see, I added here some code. I will just fix the issues now, and we will go through all the methods, and we'll explain the code. So as you see, you will need to add some usings. As we are working with characters, we're working with the UI, with vectors. So all of those, we need to have the referencing using. And we have a text block, like let's add the Fortnite UI. So yeah, looks like we're fine now. So let's begin with onBegin method. So here we are just subscribing for the pressed event. And of course we are onBegin. So we initialize all the players with onPlayer joined. And here we are creating the player UI. So we are using the getPlayerUI inbuilt Unreal Engine Fortnite method, which returns the player UI, which we can modify. So this UI we are storing in our player widget map. So this way we can reference this player's UI in the game itself, so we know which player UI belongs to which player, basically. Let's get to the next method, on next item press. This is simple. So basically we are just switching the currently used item by using the switch to next item method from our persistent manager. So as I said before, this is just switching the item to the next one by taking the next index. So we have the currently used item and we just put the +1 index and we get the next item. So if we successfully switched, then we remove and read UI. Remove and read UI, this is a method which gets the player UI, loads it, gets the root, removes the UI from the player UIs, and also from our player widget map. Another method on use input pressed. So we use the method from our persistent manager. We get the currently used item. Then we check if we have a cooldown on the specific item. So if we got the cooldown, then we'll just return from the method. We do not allow to continue with execution. We just check the cooldown player data from the map, and if it still has remaining time, so if it's bigger than 0, then we return from the method and we don't continue with execution. But if we don't have a cooldown, then we check for what kind of item was used. So in this particular case, if the item was ghost, then we will continue with setting the cooldown for the ghost. So in this case, whatever we set up in our map, then it will take the value. So in this case, we will put the 5 seconds, for example, on the ghost. Here we have also update visual cooldown, which is a method which actually updates the UI. And then we have a very simple method to make player a ghost. So we provide the agent, we provide the how long is the cooldown, and through agent we get the fourth character, and we call fourth character in build method hide, and then we just make a sleep, so we stop the execution for some time. In this case it will be like 5 seconds for a ghost, and after 5 seconds we will show the character again. So this is the simplest ability we can create. Another method, set cooldown on player for an item. In this method we provide agent, item ID, and remaining time. So we get the player, so we cast the agent to a player, then we create new cooldown data based on the information we provide, and then in the player cooldown map, so for the specific item ID, we will create the cooldown map. So here, if we have already existing cooldown map, so here, if we have existing cooldown map, we will just use the existing map which we have. Otherwise, we will create the new cooldown map for a player. Here is actual setup for the cooldown. So whenever we want to add some cooldown item, we provide the item ID, and we will set up the new cooldown data. So here, if we have a ghost, we put the 5 seconds, we put is active to true, is active to true, but for now, we are not using this logic here. We are just using remaining time. Based on your implementation, you can use is active. I'm just checking if it's if remaining time is still bigger than 0, then it means we have still a cooldown. So yeah, it depends on your implementation. But here we are just setting the cooldown for a player. So if player has a cooldown, then we set up this item in the cooldown map. Next method is update visual cooldown. This method is responsible for handling the UI part of the cooldowns for each individual player. So in beginning of this method, we are checking the cooldown value, and if it's 0, then we set up cooldown back to 0, and we break from the method. So here is the UI part. So we create this black overlay. We also create the text block with cooldown value. So next thing is we have something like player selected slot overlay. So basically we are saving all the overlays from our UI, from the quick bar, we are saving this in a map in this device so that we can update the cooldowns dynamically. So here we are accessing the player's overlay for the specific item index, and we are adding this overlay to the overlay we saved from the map. Then we wait for 1 second. We remove this overlay, so we decrement the cooldown value by 1 at the end, and this happens very quickly, so we don't see actually this removal process whenever we get to the next. If we get the value of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, so actually we don't see this split a second whenever it's removed. But whenever we got the cooldown value 0, so then we don't need to recreate our cooldown overlay. We just break from the method, we set up cooldown to 0, and then we are down. The next very important part is the main part, so create the quick bar UI. So if you saw my last video, this was created basically the same way. So I recommend you to create first the UI draft and then just recreate all those values from the draft. So if you didn't see my previous video, check it out. So we won't be getting here into how UI is created, but actually we will check the functionalities which this UI includes. So first of all, we create the stack box, then we create our guiding icon or whatever. So this is basically this this use icon. So this whole piece here is a stack box, and the last 2 items are always added to the stack box. So here we just create this icon. It's a stack box slot. Then we loop through all the equipped items, and we get the item icon through the persistence manager. So we get the icon through ID. If we check if we have the icon, and if we have it, then we continue with creating the UI part. So if the item is equipped, we would like to create some kind of red overlay or some kind of indicator. So in this case, as you see, whenever I'm changing the slot, we are changing the item we are using. So this is the part responsible for it. So this is just a simple check. Whenever the item is equipped, we just add another overlay, which is the outline, the red outline. Here is our part of creating the actual player selected slot overlay. So here we are saving those overlays. We are saving all of this to the map, so that we can control the cooldowns for each individual player. In this map, we will be saving all the cooldowns. So this is the crucial part responsible for holding this logic. And the last part here is this placeholder item I was telling you about. So this is the next item indicator or something, so that player knows what to click. And the last part is the actual canvas. So here we are building the canvas UI. Now the last step is, how do we set it up? Okay, so let's take the input device, grab 2 of them here. Okay, now get your compile device. Now get the persistent manager and get the quick bar device. So here you want to add three items. Item ID, be consistent with it, 0, 1, 2. Use cooldown. This is our cooldown of 10 seconds, for example, 10 seconds. And then here we need to add some icons. So you can just write icon. Here, icon, and you can pick whatever you find here. but I will take the ghost, and I will select here ghost power up. Item ID is 2. Use cooldown, I will take 30 seconds. And we need to add the icon for all of them, otherwise you will have error. Okay, now get into the quick bar device, put the input one here and one there, add the persistent manager. So now you add this input next item. So this is this one. So the next item we want to indicate it on, we want to trigger this on next item. Consume input, you can add description, and this one will be fire consume input. So as you see, we are in the game, everything is set up. And now if we take the ghost and click, we got the timeout for 30 seconds. And that's perfect, works as it should. So thank you guys for watching. So yeah, thank you once again very much for watching, and see you next time. Consider joining my Discord, Patreon, and subscribing the channel. I will see you next time with another tutorial for how to create Stelia Brainrot mechanics. See you next time.